Welcome to the Entrepreneur Podcast, where we take a look inside the lives of the accomplished and successful businessmen and women. We'll get up close and personal with the founders of booming startups. So lean in and prepare to carry away something to skyrocket your own business. Please subscribe to our show and do leave us a review. It means a lot to us. Now, here's your host, Rajiv.
Hey listeners, welcome to the Entrepreneur Talk Show. I am your host Rajiv Unikrishnan, and this is the show where we talk about entrepreneurship and speak to great founders and entrepreneurs. Today we have with us Swetanshu Mohapatra, and who's the founder of at Take Zero. Take Zero helps professionals from the media, entertainment, and fashion industry from around the world connect with one another to explore various job and collaborative opportunities. Welcome, Swetanshu.
Thanks a lot, Rajiv. Thanks for having me here.
All right. Just a brief intro. Swetanshu is a member of the Startup Leadership Program, or SLP, and studied at BITS Pilani. His prior experience, he was director at Bolly Holly Media, co-founder at Paceable, was director at Alpha Beta Labs, and also co-founder at Food Coach. Again, welcome, Swetanshu. Do fill in the gaps in the intro and do let us know what's going on in your world today.
Yeah. So I plunged into entrepreneurship right out of college. I was in my pre-final year at BITS Pilani when I decided to take the plunge into startups full-time.
Okay.
And since then, the journey has been going on. It has been a wonderful as well as a crazy journey.
Mm-hmm.
But we've been speaking in. It has been a long time since we graduated. But we have still held on to the entrepreneurship dream, and there is a certain aspect of commitment. Some people call it poetic, but at the same time, it's a very, very difficult thing to do.
Correct.
When you don't have jobs, when you don't have a salary, when you are bootstrapping, when you don't have money, sometimes you don't have something to eat,
Correct.
and you're trying to make things work it out. It's difficult, but as entrepreneurs, we still do it.
Correct. So before we get into business, any passions outside of work?
I do write a lot of poetry, actually.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I've been writing poetry since I was in class 5 or 6. And since then, it has been going on. So that's one of my major hobbies, writing and reading poetry.
Okay. So the inevitable question, what inspired the idea for Take Zero?
So apart from poetry, I do also watch a lot of movies, and I'm actually a movie guy
Okay.
when it comes to the world of entertainment. And I do also a bit of theater. I have already acted in theater and plays.
Okay.
What happens is it was after a short trip to US. I was back in home. We decided to shut down my previous company, and which was Paceable. And during that time, as a kind of like a retreat, I went up to the Himalayas. I didn't know what I was looking for. I didn't get whatever I was looking for.
Okay.
I don't know in the first place what it was. And then after that, I came back home and I stayed at home for around 3 months, and during which I was trying to reflect upon what I did right and what I did wrong, and how things could have worked out, how I would have done things differently. And during the same time, I was watching a lot of movies. Like I was close to 300 odd movies in a couple of months' time.
Wow.
And then it suddenly struck me that something like an equivalent of IMDb does not exist in India.
Correct.
And that is the time when the idea kind of seeded about Take Zero. But we were a very different company when we started off. We were trying to look into movie reviews and ratings, and at the same time, we were trying to look at some masala type Bollywood content which would be consumed by people.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went to Bombay. I spent around 3 months talking to struggling actors, directors, models, dancers, agents, and middlemen. And then I realized that the need of the industry is something very, very different than what I was looking at. The absence of of a platform, the absence of a connecting platform between people in this particular industry kind of made it very, very difficult for a lot of people who just entered the industry to make their mark or to find the right people who they would get connected to get further opportunities. It only happened through one-to-one discussions or one-to-one introductions, but there was no democratization of people contacts in the industry.
Correct.
And that that made it very difficult for a lot of people to make their mark. And that was the time when we thought of Take Zero. That was the time when we thought that a connecting platform would be a great opportunity for people who are new in the industry to find work and people who are already there to mentor the upcoming artists or the upcoming filmmakers.
Okay.
That is the way Take Zero succeeded.
Okay. And what is the vision for the company?
So we want to become the go-to platform for the entire media and entertainment industry needs.
Okay.
If you need a filmmaker, you find it on Take Zero. If you want to do a TV commercial or a short web video for your brand and you are a small startup who doesn't know where to go, you come to Take Zero and you find the people. So the whole idea is for any need of the media and entertainment industry, you would be able to find people on Take Zero. You would be able to connect to them, discuss with them, and get your job.
Okay. So when you thought of the idea, who are the key people to take this project off the ground? Was it only you, or you have a co-founder also, Hanu, right, who's the CTO?
No, I do have a...
Yep.
Yeah. So my co-founder, Hanu, both of us actually started Food Coach right out of college, when we were in college, rather.
Mm-hmm.
And after Food Coach, Hanu went ahead to pursue his further studies at IIM, and during the same time, I moved forward to building another company called Paceable, which was incubated at Startup Chile, and I moved to Santiago for around 6 months. After that, it was quite some time after that, when I was back in India and was thinking about Take Zero in particular, Hanu had also decided not to take up a job, and he was exploring opportunities, and that was again a great time for us to come together and start Take Zero. And that's how Hanu came on board with this idea, and we started building the entire product right from scratch from the very beginning. So that's how the team came up, the initial team at least came up, and then people joined us over a period of time. And although we are still a small team now of 4 people, but there have been people in and out of the company, but we are still a startup. And like all startups, we do have our problems when it comes to building a bigger team. You need resources, you need business, you need both of them matching with one another. It's a typical marketplace problem.
Correct. So when you thought of the idea and decided to actually launch it, did you do any MVP beta or just straight away launched it out?
So actually, it's funny that you asked that, because from my previous learnings of my startup, I had realized that it is extremely important to have a very base version of a minimum viable product than the product itself.
Correct.
So I had realized that it is probably a different strategy, but I would not subscribe to a strategy where you build a product and then go into the market. I would rather go into the market and test it out more like a concierge MVP, without use of technology, try to do things and then bring in technology to scale things up. So technology was brought in only at a point when we scale things up. So in 2014 and February 2014, when Times Internet decided to invest in us, we didn't even have a proper product in the market. We did have a lot of experiments that we ran in the market, but we didn't have a technology product per se.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
So it was a very different approach that we took. There have been mistakes even after that. We have made mistakes even after that. We have learned a lot even after that. But going into the market without a product, just with a PowerPoint presentation and pitching it to users, pitching it to customers, taking money from them with the promise of giving the product, kind of instilled a certain confidence in us that yes, the product like this can actually work.
Yes, correct.
So that is the way we did things. We didn't actually build the product and then go into the market.
Okay. So coming to the product working, how does it work in terms of you have projects, you have people, you have jobs. So how does this all work?
So typically, Take Zero is what you would call a market network. The market network term was coined by James Courier, who is one of the leading Silicon Valley investors, and he is a mastermind when it comes to networks and marketplaces. So he
Correct.
coined this term called market network. So Take Zero is a typical market network. In that sense, we are a amalgamation of a SaaS product, a network, a professional network, as well as a marketplace. And we take the best features out of all these three, and then we build and that is the way Take Zero has been built.
Okay.
And on the side of the marketplace, we help people find jobs and opportunities. So there is a supply side, there is a demand side who meet on Take Zero. On the network side, we help them brand themselves individually about who they are
Okay.
in a really nice way and showcase who they are, what their profile is, who they have worked with, who has recommended them, similar to what LinkedIn does when it comes to a professional network.
Correct.
Then there is a SaaS-based side which we usually provide to agencies and production houses who use the platform to manage the artists who are signed up with them or to find cast for an upcoming project. So we make the workflow really, really easy for them. So all the three aspects of the product together form what Take Zero is.
Okay. And so I've read you have around 8,000 plus professionals from the media and entertainment industry. Is it growing or is it more than that today?
So we have close to around 10,000 at the moment.
Okay.
So we weed out a few people from time to time who are bot accounts or who are fake accounts. We try to weed them out. In the process, we keep because it is a market network, right? So it is extremely important to have the right people who network with one another, rather to just have people who are just there or have fake accounts. So we try to weed out such people. We try to weed out such accounts from time to time. It's a challenge. It's a huge challenge because in this particular industry, people have multiple accounts, people have multiple Facebook profiles. It's very difficult to ascertain who is who over a period of time. But slowly, as the network grows, it becomes stronger and stronger. These are some of the typical problems that you face when you start building a social network.
Correct.
So we have faced those problems and we have realized how to come over those problems. So we have close to around 10,000 professionals. I would not say only artists, but this include artists, filmmakers, this include production houses, media professionals. There are different type of people on Take Zero.
Okay. So are you covering entire India today or is it just certain pockets?
Covering entire India is not very easy because because apart from being a network, it's also a marketplace. So a marketplace is supply side, demand side. A minimum threshold needs to be there in order for a marketplace to succeed.
Correct.
So for that particular reason, we decided on setting pockets of India where the traction is higher, the opportunities are higher, or where it is possible to get transactions moving. So there is a certain blue ocean strategy that we wondered if we should move into. Like for example, take a city which is not exactly a Mumbai or a Delhi.
Yeah.
So in order to take up a city similar to that, where the transactions are not very high, you need to be tied up with the right people as well as the right talent, which is very difficult again in this particular industry because they are all pocketed. There are a lot of gatekeepers in this particular industry. The commission percentages go high, right from 30% up to even 70% in cases that we have seen. So because of this large number of gatekeepers and middlemen and multiple middlemen in this particular industry, it became very difficult to follow a blue ocean strategy. So we decided to go with the places where there is already, even though there is a lot of competition, but still there are a lot of opportunities like the likes of Bangalore, Mumbai, Delhi, Hyderabad.
So which are your typical markets? Bangalore, Mumbai, Delhi, Hyderabad?
Bangalore, Mumbai, Delhi, Hyderabad institute, even
Got it.
Chennai to some extent would
Okay.
constitute some of the major areas.
And what is the market sizing like? I mean, did you do what's the research you did? How big is this space?
So in India itself, there are over 16 million professionals in the media and entertainment industry.
Wow.
So this
Okay.
includes full-time as well as freelancers, because a large number of people in this particular industry, close to around 40%, I would say, are straightforward freelancers. And when I say freelancers, these are people who have a part-time job and at the same time they are interested in acting, or they are interested in modeling, or they are interested to be in this particular industry. So altogether, there are around 16 million professionals, and this is just in India alone.
Correct.
There are other pocketed markets, like Pakistan is a market, and then you have the Southeast Asian market, Malaysia and Singapore, where even Dubai to a huge extent, where a large number of production happens. But the sourcing of this particular production happens in India, or
Okay.
there is a certain route through which part of production happens here and part of production happens there. So there is a lot of overlap when it comes to the Middle Eastern as well as the Southeast Asian markets and Indian market.
Okay. And what's the revenue model currently?
So we have been working with a lot of different revenue models actually.
Correct.
Particularly, we have been experimenting actually. Right from the very beginning, we have been experimenting with a lot of different models. So initially, we tried a commission-based model where we would take a certain cut out of every transaction that would happen. But we realized over a period of time that for the smaller transactions, it's very difficult to track them, as well as it's operationally intensive. And once we do a connect, people just go out of the platform and transact on their own. So it becomes very difficult for you to stick to commission-based models and track them over a period of time. So we decided to move away from a commission-based model and move towards a more like a subscription-based / advertising model / premium services model, where we give you premium services for a certain extra fees. Otherwise, we work on a freemium-based model where it's free to register and free to use the platform, but for extra services, you pay.
Okay. So in terms of competition, we have, I mean, definitely you have Facebook groups, pages, also sites like Artists Allowed, etc. So, I mean, how did you compete with these guys?
So it's difficult to compete with the likes of Facebook groups and WhatsApp groups.
Yeah.
So we realized that it moved. This is the way things moved away from what people were doing before. Previously, there used to be notice boards. There used to be people talking to one another in the particular industry. So when I was in Mumbai, I was one of the members of these groups. So they told me how the communication channels have changed over a period of time.
Yep.
Much before there used to be notice boards, and then it became Facebook groups. It became actually Orkut groups, and then it became Facebook groups, and then and in between them there was a phase where it was all messages. Messages used to be very cheap, 10 paise, 20 paise, and people used to forward to one another. Then they moved to Facebook groups, and then now they have moved to WhatsApp groups. So the communication in this particular circle changes with technology, changes with the penetration of technology, the use of technology. These things matter a lot when it comes to communication in this particular circles, and it's very difficult to break in again. It's not easy to break into a Facebook group and move away people from the Facebook group and say, hey, you know what? Use Take Zero. No, it's not going to work like that. What works is when you bring in enough value to the platform, when you bring in enough value of transactions, because at the end of the day, it is what people get. If people get a job, they are going to refer you. If people get a job at a Facebook group, they are going to refer you. You know what? This is a group through which I found an opportunity. Why don't you try?
Okay.
So it is the referral that becomes very, very important. And that is one of the, one of the primary behaviors of market networks. Referrals flow freely. They flow very, very freely.
Correct.
One person refers three more refer 9 more, and it starts growing viral from that point onwards. We are yet to reach that viral factor of threshold, but we have seen initial engagements where people start referring other people to find opportunities through the platform.
Okay. So y'all got your initial funding, I think, last year from Times Internet, correct? So was it a
Yeah, this actually last year, 2014 is when we
14?
received
So
the
was
funding.
it monetary one, or was it like a cross media kind
No,
of?
it was a completely cash deal.
Okay,
It was
okay,
a equity based.
okay.
Yeah, it was an equity based investment that they had done in Take Zero.
And what did you all primarily use those funds for?
So it was a small seed round, right?
Correct,
So
correct.
because it was a small seed round, the whole idea was to get off the ground right from the PPT to a working product to more market validation and grow from that point onwards. The funds were used primarily to validate the product in the market in
Okay,
terms
okay,
of how how can we position or reposition the product in order to create value out of it.
okay.
So the money was used primarily for that
Okay.
particular usage.
And how did you all tap Times Internet? I mean, did they approach you, or how did that connection happen?
So Times Internet runs a accelerator called T Labs.
Ah,
So
yes,
Take
correct.
Zero was a part of T Labs. So Take Zero was a part of T Labs. Although T Labs is more like a namesake entity, it is actually Times Internet that does the deal.
Yeah.
But T Labs is the accelerator part of it. So we went through the T Labs accelerator as a part of the fifth batch.
Okay, got it. So are you all on the road for your next seed, bigger seed or Series A?
Not a Series A. We are right now looking at a angel
Okay.
/ pre-Series A round.
Okay, okay. And how is that going in this tough environment?
So this is something that we have believed. The market is tough as long as the products are tough. For the right product, for the right
Oh, of course.
markets,
Money is always
there is
there.
always
Yeah,
money.
correct.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
how big is your team now?
We are still a small team of 4 people at the moment. But we are looking to increase the team to 12 by next year.
Okay. Moving on to the space, what do you see the key challenges faced by entertainment startups in India?
So when you say entertainment startups, it actually increases the scope to a huge area in terms of even video on demand, for example, or there are a lot of OTT players right
Correct.
now. So even they have come up with entertainment-based apps
Yeah,
or
yeah.
entertainment-based entities. But those are more consumer-centric.
Correct,
We are
correct.
not more of a consumer-centric company. We are a industry-centric company. So one of the key challenges that we have faced is it's very difficult to make a mark in this particular industry if we are not tied up with the right people in the industry.
Correct.
If you are not tied up with the big production houses, if you are not tied up with the big names in the industry, it's very difficult to make a mark. We had Times Internet to back us up.
Yeah,
The name
yeah.
of Times Internet did wonders in terms of backing us up in this particular industry. But otherwise, it's very, very difficult to survive or
Absolutely.
make a mark or build credibility. And that becomes very important. And you can do transactions. You can do transactions at the lower level. But you would still be a low-level player. In order to make it big, in order to make it make a really good mark in the industry, you need to be tied up with the right people in the industry. That's how the industry works. And if that is how the industry works, you've got to respect that.
Correct. So moving out of business, who was the greatest influencers in your life?
So there have been over a period of time. I have had a lot of mentors. I have had a lot of
Absolutely.
advisors.
Yep.
One of the first people who was my mentor was Sunil Handa. Sunil Handa is a Bispilani IIM Ahmedabad alumni who runs a course called Laboratory in Entrepreneurial Motivation in IIM Ahmedabad. He is also the founder of the core group of companies. It's called Core Embellinge.
Okay.
And he's a very hard-nosed businessman and has great business sense when it comes to motivating students as well as people to take up entrepreneurship as a full-time commitment.
Yeah, yeah.
And Sunil Handa was one of the first persons because of which I entered the world of startups. And his ideas, his thoughts, even today reflects. I had very limited interaction with him, but it still runs in my mind the few sutras that he had made me hold still runs in my mind even today.
Okay.
So it is important to have a mentor of that sort in your life. Over
Yeah.
a period of time, I've had business mentors. I had mentors who advise me about different things in life. But when it comes particular to business, you need to have someone who sees it, who sees how things are, and then
Yeah.
follow that particular route.
So, what is some of the best advice or sutras that you have been given?
So let me share a few with you. Sunil Handa once told me, when you go to investors, go from a position of strength. If you realize that you are not in a position of strength, you are not going to be in the driver's seat to negotiate or close a deal.
Absolutely.
And I have realized time and again, following his advice and not following his advice, that he was right. He was absolutely right when it came to that.
That's true.
So one other time, I remember Indus Khaitan, who happens to be one of the few known angels in India, as well as one of the known entrepreneurs who has built and exited again and again.
Yep. And
And recently he exited Bitzer Mobile to Oracle. So Indus Khaitan told me a great piece of advice. He told me, you cannot be too early in the market or too late in the market. You need to be at the right moment in the market. You need to realize what is the right moment in the market in order to make a mark. If you are too early, you are going to die. If you are too late, you are going to have a really tough time.
Yep.
You need to be around the right moment when technology is ready, when people are ready, when things are coming up. That is the time you need to strike the hammer on the red hot iron.
very true.
That is really true. And that was the mistake that we made with my first company, Food Coach, which was a food technology startup way ahead of its time. And that is the time when Indus told me, I remember, you are 4 years too early into the market. And he was absolutely right.
Okay.
2011 is when he told me this, and 2015 is when we saw the boom of the food tech startups in India.
Correct.
So we were one of the front runners, one of the first few in this industry. We were way too early.
Okay.
So it is very important to realize what is early and what is not.
Yep. So, I mean, you've had corporate jobs and all that. So, when did you know that you were meant for entrepreneurship?
So actually, it's funny that you asked that, because I never took up a corporate job. I plunged into entrepreneurship right from when I was in college. So I opted out of placements in college, and I did a 1-year internship in my own company as a partnership with BITS Pilani, as a part of the practice school program, which is the industry interface program that BITS Pilani has. And I did an internship in my own company in that way. It was kind of a jugaad, but it was important for the. It was very important for the startup as well as for my own career. And after that, I went to Chile, starting up the next startup, Paceable. Then I took a small break of around 3 months. And then I again started Take Zero. So I have never actually been in a straightforward corporate job, if you call that.
Okay, got it. So, I mean, you had startups before. I mean, any one of them that you consider a failure in terms of product creation?
Food Coach was actually, the product was great,
Okay.
but it was way too ahead of its time.
Okay.
We had built a large number of features and there were no users to use them. So we realized that a minimum product which just works as much as a great product with great design and looking beautiful. It was exactly the same. It didn't change the way people behave with our products. When it comes to beautification of a product, do it only when you are ready. That people who are your users are ready for that.
That's
Otherwise,
true.
don't.
That's true. That's true.
Concentrate on the most important aspect of your business that you think is your business. And if you have still not figured out, it is important that you figure it out. So put your energies, put your resources into figuring that out rather than beautification of the product. And if a designer comes and says that, you know what, this button needs to look like this, wonderful, but there is a certain time to do it.
Yeah, that's true.
Early in the startup, it's probably not the right time.
That's true. That's true.
So that is one of the greatest learnings that we had done. When it came to Paceable, I had an even bigger learning. So Paceable was a great product when it comes to what it did. But we realized that there is a difference between a product and a feature. Paceable was a feature. It was not a business. It was not a full-fledged product.
Okay.
And
Got
as
it.
a feature can be, you can do it on the side, you can do it, and you can keep building it slowly, little by little, and see how people interact with it. But if you are not head-on into making a feature into a product, you are wasting your time.
That's true.
A feature and a product are very, very different things. And a business is again a very different thing. So you have to move from a feature to a product to a business. And if you don't know how to move from one step to the next step, and if you're stuck at the feature and thinking that, oh, this is going to be the business, you are wrong. And you need to realize it. The sooner you realize it, the better things will be for you.
That's very true, actually, Sutanshu. So, I mean, over time, any low point in your entrepreneurial career where you just want to completely give up?
Many times, actually, many times. That happened many times. But it's a part and parcel of life. We're human at the end of the day. We are entrepreneurs, but we are human. And many times you think that, oh, this is not going to work out. Oh, did I do something wrong? Oh, this was a mistake that I did. You will come across this again and again. Entrepreneurship is not as poetic as it sounds. You can write great poetry out of it. You can make movies out of it. You can make web series out of it. But it is not as poetic as it sounds to be. When it comes to real life, when you live on 2 bananas a day, when you think of eating an Andhra mini meal and getting ahead of you just to survive the day and look forward to the next day, it stings you. And you don't have any money in your pocket, it really stings you. When you look to save 5 rupees out of the bus rather than walk 3 kilometers because you want to save that 5 rupees for the next day because you don't know what is going to happen with you because you have invested every last penny that you had into the startup, it's going to sting you really, really bad. But that is what entrepreneurship is again all about. It is the passion that drives us, but at the same time, you have got to think with logic. It's an amalgamation of science and art. You have to be passionate about it, but at the same time, you have to be logical about it.
That's true.
So I'm not going to coax people into thinking that, you know what, no, leave everything and become an entrepreneur. No. Think. Maybe you are passionate, maybe you will do it, but do it if you really, really want to do it. There are different ways of earning a living. There are different ways of living a life, and entrepreneurship is just one of them.
Starting up is very hard.
Absolutely. But again, when Sunil Handa always used to tell us that you people think entrepreneurship in a very different light. You think that only when you start a startup, you are an entrepreneur. He says, no, it's not. Entrepreneurship is an attitude. It's a way of living. It's a different way of looking at things. You can be absolutely an entrepreneur in a large organization. You can be an entrepreneur if you are not the owner of an organization. You may be a personal secretary to the CEO or MD of a large company, and that is an equally entrepreneurial job that you are having as you would have if you start a startup, or if you become the CEO of a sick company which is falling down and try to revive it. you are doing an equally entrepreneurial job as something that you do if you start everything out of your own. So there are different ways of living an entrepreneurial life. Entrepreneurship is an attitude, and it is important that people realize that then just dreaming about starting a startup and becoming a Panindra Pharma and selling Red Bus to IBBO or becoming a Billy Bansal or a Sachin Bansal. It's an attitude. People need to realize that.
Yep, very true. So if someone wants to join your company Take Zero, what's the first thing you're looking for?
Attitude. First of all, I'm looking for attitude. I'm looking for commitment. I'm looking for them to have the same vision that we have for Take Zero, to believe in it. But at the same time, they need to think logically about what things are going to be ready for, how things are going to change, and bring in some of those changes for the betterment of the company. That is what I'm looking for.
Okay.
If someone wants to work with us, if someone wants to work with us.
And at present, any new feature or any launch coming up that's getting you really excited?
Oh yeah, actually we are launching something called Brand Pages, which is essentially a large number of production houses, a large number of agencies, and a large number of bands and brands who are already on Take Zero. We would be giving them pages on Take Zero and showcasing them, and it would be very easy to contact them. We would open up channels of communication of discussing business opportunities with them through the platform.
Okay.
So that is going to come up on Take Zero base.
Okay, very good. And where do you see yourself and your business, let's say, in the next 2 to 3 years?
So in the next 2-3 years, we want to cover up the entire India and then move beyond India, because there are a large number of cross-industry opportunities beyond India as well, which we want to explore, which we want to tap in. There is a huge animation and VFX industry that has flourished already in Mumbai and Hyderabad.
Yep.
But most of the major of the projects that are done there are not projects from India. They are projects from Hollywood, or sometimes they are projects from Japan, which are being done in India right now. And there is a huge opportunity when it comes to those particular markets. And we want to become that connecting platform that helps larger, smaller entities come up and make their mark in this particular industry through this cross-industry connection. And we want to be able to do that in another 2 years.
Okay, great. So moving on to the part of the show, which is a quick fire round, simple, brief answers. Okay. So when people ask you, what do you do? How do you answer that?
I tell them, I just tell them I am an entrepreneur with a small startup of my own. That's all.
Okay. When you think of the word successful, who is the first person that comes to mind?
I would say Bill Gates.
Okay. What do you excel at that people might not realize?
I'm really good at understanding people.
Okay. And what is Shwetanshu's greatest weakness?
I have a huge ego, and it's very difficult to control that sometimes.
Okay. Your favorite city?
It's got to be Puri.
Okay.
It's a small place in Orissa.
And any book you're reading right now?
So right now I'm actually reading Hatching Twitter.
Okay, I have a nice one. And finally, one last thought of piece of advice that you want to give our listeners.
So my one last advice would be, if you are going to take up entrepreneurship, take it head on, plunge into it, giving it full-time commitment. That is very, very important. Giving 100% commitment to whatever you do is extremely important. And then take on life as it comes. Because you have given your 100% commitment, you would not be bad at what you do.
Great.
That is very important that I've realized.
Great. So again, Shwetanshu, do let our listeners know how they can reach you and also Take Zero.
Reaching us is very simple. Actually, you can tweet to me at Swetanshu, SWETANSU. There is no H in the name. You can also reach us on TakeZero at takezero.in.
Okay.
And there's a contact form. You can just send us an email. You can just tweet to us. There's different ways of reaching us. So we are usually very responsive and would love to talk to you.
Again, Shwetanshu, thanks for taking the time to talk to us and inspiring our listeners to start their own ventures, and all the very best at scaling and building TakeZero.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Rajiv, for having me on your talk show. And it's absolutely a great pleasure to talk.
Thank you. Do visit takezero.in and visit us at theasianentrepreneur.com to get the show notes. And please subscribe to our show on iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, and all the available platforms. Thank you.
Thank you for listening, and please subscribe to the show so you don't miss an episode. In the meantime, head over to theasianentrepreneur.com and check out show notes and other information to motivate you in your entrepreneurial endeavors.